All right, here's what we're going to do today, kids. No hockey for a few days, a good chunk of days, and we have 2 more episodes this week. We could get through it. This light's not lined up, but we're lined up for a great show. We're going to talk about things today.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Capitals. I am your host, as always, the insider of the insiders, Tyler Kuehl. Maybe hitting a bit of a sugar buzz right now, because guess what, kids? Sugar dough, cookie dough has sugar in it. Holy cow, am I kind of wired? Maybe I'm just burnt out. I don't know what it is. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Capitals, folks. Thank you very much for listening and watching today and every day. As you guys probably have figured it out by now, we're free and available on our platforms. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to keep it simple today. Well, one, we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the Olympics again. I promise you, this will be the last time we talk about it prior to the actual Olympic Games. Because you never know, there may be some former Washington Capitals that get onto one of these rosters, and especially overseas in Russia and whatnot. So we'll get to that point by the time we get around to mid to late February or late January, getting ready for the February games. But what we are going to talk about is the need for a best on best kind of tournament. I'll explain why when we get to that. We'll be doing a couple grading things today. And today in particular, we'll be grading the forwards for the Washington Capitals. Obviously, there's more of them. Tomorrow will be the defense and goaltenders before we get to our Christmas gifts. What would the Washington Capitals want for Christmas? Because let's hope that's the last day before, before we play on Monday when the Washington Capitals play the Ottawa Senators. I don't think I've ever been more excited or more anticipating of a hockey game between the Capitals and the Ottawa Senators ever. I think that's probably the first time I've ever said I've been excited for a matchup like that. But let's start off with the big news that came out on Wednesday. The official word of that the National Hockey League was not going to the Olympic Games. Bummed. We talked about it yesterday. Bummed, yes. I'm disappointed, unhappy, sucks. You can't point the finger at anyone this time. That's the problem. But I don't know. You really can't. You really have to say, what the heck, Rona? What's going on here? Why do you have to do this to us? So, yeah, I can see why people are disappointed. Obviously, the players are. I don't think there is a single hockey player in the world that, or at least in the NHL, of course, that isn't angry. Isn't angry because they had a chance. I mean, Connor McDavid and boy, Jack Eichel has been skating recently, guys. There have been inklings. There have been discussions. There have been players coming out and saying that they're not too happy with the, Connor Hellebuyck's word was overkill on the pause and whatnot. Listen, I get why people are angsty, that are disappointed, that are trying to figure out what the plan is for this team moving forward here. So we'll just kind of have to I don't say bring down our expectations of what it is now. But now we got to look at what could the possibilities be moving forward here. For those of you that are younger than I, because there's a lot of you, I've seen some of the comments and the hearts and whatever, but the National Hockey League didn't always used to go to the Olympic Games. Like I mentioned on yesterday's show, a lot of the kids, a lot of the players that would have been playing in Beijing and would have been playing in 2018 as well, grew up watching their heroes on the ice in the Olympic Games every 4 years. It's still crazy to think that the NHLers have only gone 5 times. 98, 02, 06, 10, 14. They've only gone 5 times in the entire history of the Winter Olympics, which started in 1924, even though, yes, hockey's been actually played longer than the origination of the Winter Games. For those that don't know, Canada killed everybody in the 1920 Summer Games because, they want to give hockey a shot. And they said, you know what, we can have hockey be at the winter. Let's make up these Winter Olympics, and hockey's more like it over there anyways. So Do I want to see hockey go back to not having it? Sure. No. Sure, I'm not. I'm not for having hockey go strictly back to non-NHLers or not having the NHL go. And that's it's still one of the most painful parts. That's why like baseball, for example, in the summer games is such a huge, discussion of whether or not it should be in the games. Because let's be honest, if Major League Baseball took a 2 or 3 week pause in the middle of their season or shortened it somehow or another to have players go to the Olympics, holy cow, would baseball explode at the Olympics. Now, granted, there are other sports that kind of take precedent. Hockey is seemingly still one of the bigger draws, no matter where or when or who's even playing in it, because it is one of the few team sports that is there. There's obviously team cross country skiing and what have you, but hockey is the big one at the Winter Olympics. That's why the NHL going is such a big deal. And yeah, you're right. The Olympics are important because it's a great way to, really highlight the best players in the game on the international stage. Yes, of course, the NHL is broadcasted to the far reaches of the globe. That said, not everyone watches it except for the Olympics. So you want to really show the best of the best every 4 years. That's why that audience is so important to be reached during the Winter Games. That's why this year they were saying like, all right, it's not looking good, guys. Just letting you know this is going to kind of suck. And if you get COVID, you could be there for like a month after the games. You guys want to do that? Are you sure? And players were like, we want to do it. We want to do it. We want to do it. And then it just got to the point where so many games were postponed that they had no choice. There was nothing else that could be done. And that's the unfortunate part. Now, yes, everyone's come out and screamed, well, why don't we do what the NFL does, the NBA does? You're asymptomatic and you're vaccinated with the booster shot. Great, you can still play. I get that. I understand. I understand the thought process behind it. I also understand the thought process of, dude, you have COVID, you could spread it. Because that's been the real biggest thing here with COVID is the fact that there's been a lot of there's some players that are like, sure, dude, whatever. If I'm healthy, I feel good, fine. I have it. Oh, who cares? I'm asymptomatic. I'm vaccinated up the wazoo. I ain't no Tyler Bertuzzi over here. I'll play. That's what you get. But then there's a lot of players as well. I can't tell you the ratio right now because we don't really exactly have taken a survey over this sort of thing. But there have been players that have said, no, I'd rather be safe because they have family. They have kids that are too young to be vaccinated right now. So I understand both sides of the story. My take, whatever the league wants to do. If the league wants to keep doing this method it's going to be, that it's been doing, it's not easy, but okay. We'll see if we can get through it. But if the league turns the corner and says, you know what, we got to do what the other leagues are doing because we need to play hockey. Okay. Players at that point, you may see players opt out at that point. I think the league should honor that if that happens. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. Reversing back here to the best on best format. Because as much as we would love to see the best on the Olympic stage, what used to be done was so unique back in the day. Yeah, there's still the World Championships. So it's not like there's been no men's senior international tournaments. But that's not always the best players going to the Worlds. Typically, you've been seeing who's left after who didn't make the playoffs or who got eliminated in the first round go overseas. Or sometimes it's been played on North American soil, North American ice. But what used to be done was so unique and so interesting. And I know people are sour of how 2016 went, but something like the World Cup of Hockey. I know 2016 was very gimmicky. 2004 was a massive cash grab, even though as exciting as it was. 1996, I know I'm getting a little bit agey here for some of you, but that was probably, dare I say, one of the best hockey tournaments. 2010 Olympic Games were great in terms of the men's side here. Women's, there's been plenty of those, but that's a story for a different time. But 96, that still had Gretzky, Messier, Lindros, Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh for Canada. And the U.S., of course, had Brett Hall, and Mike Richter was the MVP of that tournament. Mike Modano, Keith Tkachuk. Russians had Fedorov and I think Sergei Makarov was still there. Gosh, the list went on and on. Sweden had a great team as well. They had a young Nicky Lidstrom there, but they had Alfredsson when he was still on the rise as well. Like that tournament, if you look at the amount of star players that were in that thing, like that's why these best on best tournaments are so exciting. And of course, before that was the Canada Cup, which kind of came off of the success of the 72 Summit Series and started in 76. And Canada did win every single tournament, but I believe it was just 81. Now I have to go. Now I got to look it up. I'm sorry. Canada Cup history. All-time results. Canada won all but one. Yeah, 81 when the Soviets won was the only time, and that was when that was probably one of Vladislav Tretiak's best performances in the second half of his career. And yeah, now like I said, yes, the Canadians did win the Canada Cup 4 out of the 5 times, but that was a fun tournament because you had Finland, Czechoslovakia, and at the time Soviets up until 91, which was the last tournament, the Soviets weren't allowed, none of them really went to the National Hockey League, right? McGillney didn't defect until 1990. But regardless, there weren't that many. So having some of these players and Czechoslovakians as well, they'd come over and you'd see wow, these players from overseas are pretty good. We're a little bit better, but they're pretty good too. And then you start to see them influx into the league, and it made it exciting. That was fun thing about it. And would the league ever go back to it? I mean, would the NHL put it on? Would it be a double IHF event where, similar to the World Junior Tournament, every September or late August, these players get together and they would, circle it around like they do the World Juniors? They'd be in Canada 1 year, Finland the next, United States 1 year, the Czechia, excuse me, as it's being now known, referred to as, but something like that. Sure. The point of it is that I want to see more of the best on best. How good would Connor McDavid do when he's not playing? Not going to say average NHLers because that's going to make them look like they're subpar, but have him play against a dominant Russian team. We haven't been able to see that yet. Well, but the All-Star game, if you're really going to do the All-Star game, you just need to get out of this conversation right now, guys. Come on. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it soon because I think it's something that this game needs. It's something that this game wants. The players want it. The fans want it. The Olympics just happened to be the biggest stage, and it was for a little bit there the tradition of every 4 years. Going to the games. It wasn't really the biggest thing that year. I hope they figure it out. I really do. I want it to be a thing. That is it. The best on best formats that I want to see, the National Hockey League playing the Olympics, whatnot. More of that stuff later on down the line. But guys, I got to tell you that no one daily fantasy knows much better, but traditional sports are a long-term losing proposition because you know or what you're up against. First of its kind sports platform where it's you versus the house and head-to-head fantasy matchups, winner take all. And the crazy part, StatHero shows you their lineups before you play and handpick the team you want to face one-on-one. This never before seen innovation in fantasy sports and hybrid has StatHero players clocked that are 4 times ever before. Why? Because you don't have to compete against thousands of experts or unknowns. It's because StatHero puts you in control of your fate. And with StatHero, you are in control of your stakes as well. You decide how much you're going to play. For StatHero has no choice but to take it because they're daring you to beat them. Sign for free right now at stathero.com/hockey. Use the promo code hockey for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/hockey, promo code hockey for a 100% match at stathero.com. Terms and conditions do apply. So let us grade the Washington Capitals forwards, shall we? We're going to talk about some of the players and kind of go down the list. And yes, we're pretty much, should I go numerically? Let's go numerically. Let's do this. We're going to hit up our good friends at hockeyreference.com, which I think is the best place, I think, for hockey stats. for up-to-date analytics. Elite Prospects does a great job as well. Elite Prospects is better for deep diving research on players in their past and how they played in international tournaments and minor hockey, junior hockey, college hockey. Hockey Reference, those are the best thing for me, if you're asking me, to get NHLers. So we're going to jump down the list here. We're going to go with, can I go by, no, I got to have to go by position. Okay. So it's going to kind of bounce around here. Daniel Sprong. You know, he's been up and down for me, right? I really liked his game at points, but at sometimes he seemed pretty quiet, pretty distant from the play, hasn't really been effective. I'm going to go, man, I don't want to. I try to be optimistic, guy. This is going to be the problem with this because I'm going to get down to like the new kids. I'm going to be like higher grades than the guys had expectations for coming in. I'm going to go with C+ for Daniel Sprong. I just think he has more to give, And once again, there are games that he's not on the score sheet that he does make difference. He make a difference out there. He makes some good plays. I just think he has something more to give. That's my problem with him. He's a passing grade, but he's got a little more up to his step here. Maybe he can get something going. Connor Sheary has quietly been one of the best bottom six second line guys on this team. And I say that because he's kind of gone around from that third line to the second line to third line, kind of wavering in that area. And he's been solid. The reason why he came to Washington, the reason why Brian McClellan and company brought him into this hockey club was because of the fact that he was a very decorated guy, very decorated hockey player. And he is someone that knows how to win. And Washington still has that aspirations of being a winning hockey team, winning the big games, and hopefully winning the Stanley Cup. Despite the fact that this team gets older and older and older, Sheary brings just that little bit more veteran status. And with that, he's not a flashy player. He's not a super hard checking guy, but he's a tough guy to play against. So I'm going to go with him. I'll give him a B+, Connor Sheary. 15 points so far this year, which is fifth on the team in scoring. Yes, I know 15 points ain't a whole lot, but when only 4 of your players have 20 or more points, you got to give him some light when you see him there. Michael Scarbosa. Man, it's crazy because, once again, scores in his first game. Very weird goal that he scores. Has been having a solid year with the Hershey Bears. Haven't had a whole lot of chance to see him. I'm just going to give him a B-. He hasn't been bad. And when you're playing in the bottom four, you're playing on the fourth line as much as Scarbosa has. And he played on the third line a little bit as well. You more or less just don't want me to say your name. You don't want the coach to say your name after, unless you're on the score sheet and a contributing factor. That's been the biggest thing for me with guys like Scarbosa. And there'll be a couple others you mentioned here. I'll go a B- just because I think he's been solid. He hasn't been great either. And I think if he gets some more consistent playing time, maybe some more opportunities, I think he has a chance to kind of maybe step up here and maybe bump it up to a B by the end of things here. Alexei Protas. Boy, oh boy. He came in and he looked so out of place the first couple of games. I know he got a point with Brett, he was on the ice with Brett Leason's first NHL goal, which I thought was pretty cool. He was on the same line. But it just seemed like the first couple of games, he was just trying to find his feet. He looked like Keith Primo his first couple of years with Detroit. He just looked like big, lanky kid that just skating around, hoping he's in the right spot at the right time. And, he started to pick it up for me. He's really starting to turn things around. He has 2 goals and 4 assists in 20 games played. And I believe, see if I can pull up his game log here. I believe he has done so in the last half of the games he has played. He only has 1 point in his last 5 games. Come on, where's the game log at on this thing? More Protas pages. Game logs. Here we go. He has, in his last chunk of games here, 1, 2. So all 6 of his points have come 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last at least 15 games for Protas. So it's more or less he got comfortable, and he obviously had a big game on the night that Ovechkin had a hat trick, had a couple of assists. Of course, scored his first NHL goal as well. I have high hopes for him, being his size and the fact that he can move the puck as well at that height. He can be someone dangerous, a little bit of a Joe Thornton in him, crafty, playmaking, and can put the puck in the back of the net. Give him a beard and put him in Florida, and look at that. He'll look the part. Moving on back down the list here with the Washington Capitals. We just talked about a Belarusian. Now let's talk about a Russian, Alexander Ovechkin. A plus. It's too easy, okay? Because here's the thing. If Ovechkin right now had been at like 10 to 15 goals in 31 games, averaging half a goal a game, probably give him an A or an A minus. He's averaging almost a goal a game, 22 goals in 31 games, 47 points, only has 6 penalty minutes. 16 of his goals are even strength, which I'm pretty sure some people are like, pardon me? And he has a shorthanded goal as well. Like he's scoring every which way. It's not just the one timer, it's him going hard into the slot. Let's just hope that he keeps that up because it's really important for Washington right now. Him going on wood. Going back down further down the list. Boy, when he's in the lineup, he's good, eh? I'm going to give him an A. Like, look at this. He blew a shot against Detroit, removed from scoring a hat trick. Game or 2 games removed. Shortly after he gets a hat trick, blocks a shot, fractures his foot. Allegedly fractures his foot. The team never confirmed nor denied, except he was in a walking boot for a good chunk of time. 11 points, though, in 4 games. I give him an A minus simply because of the fact that I just haven't enough of him yet. But he's been good. The team has been undefeated when he puts points on the board. I believe it's. Let's just hope that he maybe use this to get that foot all in together and hopefully keep producing. They like him. The fact that he played 14 seconds against LA, come on. I'm still, and you know, early in this year, and especially coming out of training camp and preseason, he looked so good. He looked confident. He looked like he was going to tear the world with his ability to play. He has 4 goals, 5 assists, but he's gone a little cold over the last little bit. Like I said, he did score against LA, which broke a little bit of a good pointless schneid for him. And I believe that one, let me just, he had not had a point in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 games, 7 games. Went pointless in 7 straight after scoring a goal in the loss against the Florida Panthers back on November 30th. So, I mean, it's tough because I think he has that ability. I just feel like he's made some mistakes over this stretch, and maybe scoring that goal is going to help bolster him up. But the rest of that game, we didn't hear from him. And especially with the power play woes that they had, the Washington Capitals, you think just throw someone in there like him, a guy that has that offensive scoring touch and playmaking touch. So I'm going to put him at a B minus as well, just by the way he's gone as of late. I would have been a B had we probably stopped at Thanksgiving, but man, I think he's got more to give. No question about it. Moving along here, we talked about McMichael. Brett Leeson. Brett Leeson he's finally scored a goal that looks normal, by the way. First one goes off Victor Hedman's foot. The other one's a little flutter bug from a bad angle and a nice feed by Connor McMichael. And he finally gets one in the game. Who the heck was it against? Oh my gosh. I'm getting old, kids. I don't remember who had points in what games. It was the Winnipeg game, right? Yeah, it was the Winnipeg game. He had the nice shot right in the slot. And yeah, I think he's got more too. I'm going to give him a B plus because he was one of those guys while McMichael was playing 15 minutes. He was playing like 7 and 8 with Protus. So yeah, I think if you give him more time, he'll be another guy that's going to start stepping it up here. Not like I said, he's not playing badly. I mean, it's 3 goals and 3 assists, but he's got some more to give, for sure. Evgeny Kuznetsov, A for sure. And maybe if I even want to go as far as an A plus. By the way the things went last year, the way he was on the COVID list, wasn't playing, being benched, it seemed like he was just going to be excommunicated by this season. He comes out fresh, determined, and all of a sudden he's the second leading scorer and one of 2 players on this team that has 30 points, 21 assists as well, mind you, which is up towards the top of the league here at the way things went, kind of turns around, which has been very important for him. And kind of have to move a little bit. Apologize. Garnet Hathaway, once again, another guy I would list for a night. When he's in the lineup, he's been effective. He's not flashy. He's not fancy. Do a lot of crazy things. Having a little bit of a Cy Young with 7 goals and 3 assists, but he's been a player that finds himself in positions, but also is a guy who's been playing solid in his own zone. I'm going to give him a B+. B+ for Garnet Hathaway. Carl Hagelin, man, I don't know. See, I'm going to give him a C. Yeah, once again, it's not like he's bad. He's been a solid penalty killer for this team. He still has a little bit of wheels. Something's missing there. Something just not clear they had in the past for Hagelin. So that's why I'm putting him at a C. Larger, I'm going to give him a B+ because he's been thrown in different situations. Penalty kill, power play, shootouts, of course. All the ones Capitals have been in. He's been finding himself in all sorts of situations, and he's been effective as well. I mean, that's the reason why he has 5 goals and 9 assists so far this season. And he's had a couple of real big games. I know he kind of wore the goat horns in a couple, but B+ because he's been a solid player. And like I said, with Nicholas Backstrom out for a long time, it's been hard to really say who could step up, and Eller has. He's played in the top 6 at times and had to play some big minutes for this hockey club. By the way, I'm not going to give Backstrom a grade because he played 1 game and he got an assist. A+, point of game player. Nick Dowd. Gosh, get healthy, eh? I don't want to grade a guy that's been out of the lineup. It's like saying you have to give a kid a C- because he didn't show up for any of his tests. I mean, usually you just expel that kid, but he was never able to be healthy early on this year. And, he scored a couple goals. I'm just going to put him at a C because it's like he's been average, and it's not his fault. It's not like he's been playing badly. It's just he hasn't been able to get any consistent game action in. And I believe that's it for the forward. So, unfortunately, after Nicholas Backstrom. So, those are my grades for the Washington Capitals. Obviously, some room for improvement for some guys. Some others, it's just try to keep going as much as you can. We'll wrap things up with a little good news story coming out of the women's game here. But BetOnline, guys, has you covered this holiday season with more props and lines than ever before as football continues to march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the hockey action. Kids, they signed a deal with Upper Deck. The big wigs, if you will, of hockey cards. And that's pretty cool because that means you're going to get to. And I'm probably going to get a couple packs of mine. That's pretty neat. Heard somewhere from the 98 games, but it's cool to see the actual league get a part of something like that. And I really hope that the also like that. So we'll hope that comes around here soon. So real cool stuff. Hopefully the Premier Hockey Federation keeps it moving, keeps her going, and keeps rising. I like watching them. Of course, I did watch the the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. They had the Dream Gap Tour last weekend. Watched it on TikTok, which was kind of odd, but it was good hockey. It just was kind of weird watching it when your phone, was like this. You're like, where you're trying to like move it yourself, like tell the camera, move the camera this way. So, I mean, they got some good stuff here. It's all leading to the Olympics. Women's hockey at the Olympics is going to be a lot of fun. So that is it, folks, for this episode of Locked On Capitals. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to tune back in tomorrow where we give our reviews, our grades of the goaltenders and the defensemen for this Washington Capitals team, as well as what do the Washington Capitals want for Christmas? We'll discuss on Locked On Caps. We'll see you all tomorrow. Follow us at Locked On Caps on Twitter. Follow me, the Insider of the Insiders, Tyler Kuehl, at TJKU29 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll be on there. Maybe doing something special for Christmas. Not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see. You'll have to find out if you follow me on TJKU on TikTok. We'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Locked On Capitals. See you later.